The click of the mouse was the only sound in the silent, empty office. For me, it was the sound of a door slamming shut, a vault locking, a trap being set. I'd been staying late for 3 weeks, long after everyone else, including David, had headed home to their families, their dinners, their normal lives. My life hadn't been normal since the Blackthorn account was stolen from me. David and I were supposed to be partners. More than that, we were friends. We'd started at the agency around the same time. 2 hungry juniors battling the same cynical seniors. We'd fueled each other through late nights with cheap pizza and expensive coffee, dreaming of the day we'd be the ones running the show. He was the charismatic frontman, all easy smiles and firm handshakes. I was the architect, the one who built the campaigns from the ground up, who found the narrative thread that would make a product unforgettable. The Blackthorn account was my masterpiece, a legacy watch company, stodgy and fading. I'd found the angle. It wasn't about telling time, it was about legacy, about the moments that take your breath away, the seconds that define a life. I'd poured my soul into the pitch, working until my vision blurred. David was my sounding board. "It's genius, Liam," he'd said, clapping me on the back, his eyes gleaming with a fervor I mistook for shared excitement. "Absolutely genius. Let me help you polish the presentation. We'll nail this together." The we felt good. It felt like partnership. The day of the pitch to the Blackthorn executives, I was set to go in alone. It was my concept, my presentation. 10 minutes before, David pulled me aside. "Let me do the intro," he'd said, his voice low and conspiratorial. "I can warm them up, get them in a good mood. You come in for the deep dive." It made a twisted kind of sense. David was the better schmoozer. I stood outside the boardroom, my heart a frantic drum against my ribs. I heard David's smooth, confident voice through the door, then laughter. Good. He was warming them up. I took a steadying breath and entered. The scene is seared into my memory. David was at the head of the table, not just introducing, but presenting. My slides were on the screen. My words were coming out of his mouth. He was using my exact phrasing, the cadence I'd practiced in the mirror. He saw me and didn't, ebb and flinch. He just gave a slight, almost imperceptible nod, as if I were his assistant who'd arrived late. "And as my colleague, Liam, can attest," he said, seamlessly weaving me into his narrative. "The core of this campaign is the emotional resonance." He'd stolen the symphony, and was now crediting me for tuning a single violin. I was paralyzed. To call him out in front of the clients would have made me look unstable, petty. I sat there, a smile plastered on my face, while my insides turned to ash. He finished to a round of applause and beaming smiles from the Blackthorn brass. Te lo bet Italiano. They loved him. Afterward, in the hallway, he had the gall to look pleased. "We did it, Liam. We nailed it. You used my entire presentation," I said, my voice dangerously quiet. His smile didn't waver. "Our presentation. We're a team. Remember, don't get bogged down in the details. The win is what matters. The win." A week later, the news broke. David had been personally commended by the CEO for landing the multi-million-dollar Blackthorn account. A month after that, he was promoted to creative director. My name was a footnote, and also contributed in the internal memo. The betrayal was a physical sickness. The friendly clap on the back felt like a violation. His easy smiles in the break room felt like taunts. Everyone moved on, but I couldn't. Forgiveness wasn't a switch I could flip. For me, it was a seed of ice that took root in my gut and grew, crystalline and sharp, every single day. So I started my own project. Operation Legacy. I knew David. I knew his ambition was only matched by his laziness. He was a brilliant thief, but a terrible architect. He couldn't build from scratch. His new position came with bigger accounts and bigger pressure. He was struggling, and that's when I made my move. I began anonymously feeding him ideas. A fake, untraceable email account. A source who admired his work, but wanted to remain hidden. I'd send him fragments of copy, visual concepts, Strategic insights for the agency's most demanding new client, Omnicorp. They were good. They were brilliant, and they were poisoned. I crafted a campaign for Omnicorp that was a work of art on the surface, a revolutionary new platform framed as a digital guardian angel. The visuals were sleek, the messaging was powerful, but buried deep within the core concept, in the sample ad copy and the proposed social media tags, was a ticking time bomb. I used specific proprietary terminology I knew belonged to Omnicorp's most bitter rival, Viridian Tech. Terminology that was under a strict non-disclosure agreement. The kind of thing only someone with deep, inside access would know. I'd gotten access because my cousin worked there, and over a few beers, I'd learned just enough to be dangerous. David, desperate and arrogant, took the bait. He didn't question the anonymous benefactor. He assumed it was his own genius attracting admirers. He presented the Digital Guardian Angel campaign as his own original work to the Omnicorp board Te Lobed. Italiano, they greenlit it for a global launch. The day of the launch was a masterpiece of tension. The office was buzzing. There were catered lunches. David was holding court, the conquering hero once again. I sat at my desk, calmly sipping my coffee, watching the clock. It happened at 10:17 a.m. The CEO's assistant came out, her face pale. David, Mr. Evans needs to see you in his office. Now. The buzz in the office dulled to a whisper. We all watched David stride confidently towards the corner office. He didn't come out for an hour. When he did, the man was unrecognizable. The swagger was gone. His shoulders were slumped, his face ached. He didn't look at anyone as he walked to his desk, collected a single small box of his things, and left. The news spread through the office like a wildfire. A cease and desist from Viridian Tech. A lawsuit for corporate espionage and theft of intellectual property. Omnicorp had pulled the entire campaign. Humiliated. The agency was facing financial and reputational ruin. They needed a scapegoat, and David, the author of the campaign, was it. He was fired on the spot, and the word was that he'd be blacklisted from the entire industry. No one ever traced it back to me. I was just quiet, reliable Liam, who kept his head down and did his work. A few months later, I heard through the grapevine that David had lost his house. His marriage had collapsed under the strain. The golden boy was tarnished forever. Some people might think my revenge was cruel, disproportionate. Maybe it was, but David didn't just steal a promotion. He stole my voice, my passion, my belief in fairness. He made a part of me hollow, and that hollow part was the only thing capable of filling itself with the cold, precise calculations required to destroy him. He taught me a brutal lesson about trust, and I, in turn, taught him one about consequence. Because when you steal a man's legacy, you had better make sure he doesn't have the tools to build you a tombstone.